Now you remember, my friend, when we talked about Solomon and his prayer to God for wisdom. The book of Proverbs is the next book of our journey, is to our practical life what the book of Psalms is to our devotional life. The Proverbs is just a collection of the wisdom that God gave to Solomon. It wasn't like a full category, full catalog of all the wisdom that he gave him, but just a little bit, just a taste. And it's really not a book that you can sit through and just read cover to cover, all 31 chapters. So a lot of people break it up and read a chapter a day for each day of the month, being 31 days, of course. And that's a helpful way to do it. There's not really a way to mathematically put everything in order, and there's certainly a lot of very good wisdom and insight in these passages. So let's just jump right in. Chapter 1. The Proverbs of Solomon, the son of David, king of Israel, to know wisdom and instruction, to discern the sayings of understanding, receive instruction in wise behavior, righteousness, justice. So that's the purpose of this book. A lot of times when you're reading a book of the Bible, you want to understand what the purpose was that the author wrote it. And this was so that we'd have understanding and knowledge. And it's not just so much to understand everything about a fire and how it's created and how hot it can get and the different dangers of it and of touching it. Wisdom is knowing all of that and wise enough not to stick your hand in the fire. You can know all you want, all you can about alligators. Wisdom is knowing not to try to pet one like it's a cat. It's not going to work, especially not my cat. Anyhow, I like this verse down in verse 8. Hear, my son, your father's instructions, and do not forsake your mother's teaching. See, sons follow their father's influence to eternity, to heaven or to hell. The last thing, you want is for your child to go the wrong way, and for you to ask him, "What are you doing here? And then you'd be like, "Well, I'm just following you, Dad. Just following your influence, your instruction. You're leading me along the way." You want to be leading your child the way that they should go, tenderly, with love and good discipline, instructing them, because children aren't going to just understand, especially at a young age, all the basic facts of how things work and why you shouldn't put the cat in a box and underneath the bed. Things like that. You have to explain these things to kids gently and tenderly. And it says that in the book of Proverbs. The father is supposed to be tender toward his children, just like the mother is. And society, tries to pull away from that. But I think that men should be just as tender with their children as women. Now, there's a certain difference between man and woman. God made them different on purpose. But he didn't make their diversity something that should separate them from being helpful with one another. I was thinking about the other night, just different children's stories and different ideas. How, if there's a bunch of frogs that are trying to accomplish some goal or task, and a duck comes along and he's different than the frogs want to ignore the duck and don't want to include the duck in what they're trying to do. But what if the duck, being able to fly, could help the frogs? Get over a river or whatever it is. Get over something. But if the frogs embrace the duck's differences, they can get the task accomplished quicker or better than it ever could have been otherwise. And the same way, men and women and different people groups can work together to accomplish things, to collaborate, to accept each other's differences. If God gave one person the gift of helping, one person has the gift of artistry, one has the gift of devotional speaking, one has the gift of just laying it out honestly. Different people can get together and do things and accomplish things together because God made them different and gave them different gifts, different abilities. I like how the book of Proverbs just lays it out to us and tells us that he speaks to us. Turn to my reproof. Behold, I will pour out my spirit on you and make my words known to you. See, God speaks to us. He talks about wisdom being a precious jewel, precious treasure. Wisdom, Jesus go hand in hand. Well, Jesus was before the beginning. Wisdom itself was before the beginning. Understanding his ways and knowing what you're doing. Proverbs 2, 3, verse 6 of chapter 3. In all your ways Here, I need to start with verse 5. Trust in the Lord with all your heart. Do not lean on your own understanding. In all of your ways acknowledge Him. See, God's wisdom applies to all of our areas of our life. Every area. His wisdom applies to everything that we do. And He teaches us wisdom, not just in the book of Proverbs, but the entire Bible is a message of how to treat other people and how to treat Him and how to treat ourselves. And the book of Proverbs is definitely a big thing on all three of those things, and it just goes back and forth. Blessing people when you can. That's one of our life verses right there. In all your ways acknowledge Him. You trust in the Lord with all your heart. Lean not on your own understanding. Just like when you with your spouse or a relationship with anybody, you don't have to always understand. Understand them. Live with them understanding. As the Bible says to live with your spouse in an understanding way. And in the same thing, live with people in an understanding way. Understand that they're not thinking like you are. Their experiences are not the same as yours. And we can't put our own thoughts and experiences upon somebody else and assume that they're going to understand where we're coming from either. We have to live in an understanding way and approach the Word as we go. It's something that I love about the book of Proverbs. Chapter 4, verse 23. Watch over your heart with diligence, for from it flows the spring of life. Put away a deceitful mouth and put devious speech far from you. See, our mouths speak the heart's intent. Whatever, from the abundance of the heart, our mouth speaks. Chapter 5 talks about having a pure marriage bed. Verses 15 down to 19 or even 20 is extremely good because it talks about how to keep your marriage pure, to continue to find favor in the wife of your youth, or whoever you married, whoever God gave you. Hold fast to what you've been given, because you're in charge of the king's child. If it's your wife, that's the king's daughter that you're taking care of. If it's, your husband, the king's son that you're taking care of, right? Because God is the Father of all, and He's King of all, and we're His children, which means when we're married to sons and daughters of God, children of His. So we need to look at our marriages like that. Drink water from your own cistern, fresh water from your own well. For the ways of a man are before the eyes of the Lord, and He watches all of His paths. He sees us all. He sees everything that's going on in our lives. He sees everything. Chapter 4, about being honest and having integrity, working hard. 7 abominations, the seven wicked sins as they are referred to. Study the Word, memorize the Word, encounter the Word in your life, and remain faithful. And that's chapter 6, and we're out of time, so we'll continue on in the next video. Just remember these words in your heart and have wisdom. Pray for wisdom, that God will give you wisdom with your relationships with other people, with your spouse, especially. Enjoy your family. Enjoy the loved ones that God has given you. Enjoy your spouse. Enjoy the woman or the husband, the wife that God gave you. And fall in love with them all over again. Because love, like John Mayer says, love is a verb. I love John Mayer. But yeah, that's one of my favorite songs right there. My son loves singing that song in the backseat of the car. But anyway, not that long. We'll pick up on Proverbs 7 in the next video. Have a good night. Shalom.